As you are aware of, right? So this course is related to discussing the PYQs and then basically how to prepare that chapter actually, how the questions are coming. Because most of the time when you are preparing, you may be preparing from a book and thinking that all the content is important with respect to especially history content, right? So what will happen is we start mugging up the even minute fact, and over the period of time we start overwhelmed with the fact. So when we get overwhelmed with the fact, the subject itself becomes very difficult. So what is important is to analyze the PYQs and see where exactly the questions are coming, and then you should change your preparation accordingly, right? Then because there are certain topics like Mauryas, right, Guptas. Here what is happening is the questions are coming apart from the textbook that you are studying, right? And for many other topics, the questions are not coming at all, right? So now when we are studying as a subject, we will study everything, whatever that is there in the book. So our idea is basically to decode the PYQs, for all the subjects. This course will continue for the entire year, so that by now only the major problem that we have seen with the students is basically they start preparing from January thinking that prelims is more about content. Prelims is not basically about content in the first place, right? That is why few students keep clearing the prelims year after year, even preparing just for, let's say, 1 month, 1.5 months, right? So if it was only about content, then it would not have been possible, right? So what is the difference that is making with those students who are clearing every time? For example, when I was writing, I was also clearing each and every attempt, right? So now it doesn't mean that I was starting from January and then preparing it. Maybe after giving the interview, we used to have 1 month time, 1.5 months time. From there, we are supposed to prepare for our prelims. So that means that you should have a framework what to study, what not to study, right? Or is it not true that only from the book whatever that I study only that will come? You should go beyond the book for certain topics, right? So keeping that in mind, this program this year what we have done is, every year we used to start it in the month of January or February, not as a separate course for the prelims guidance program, but let's say APEC or Conquer prelims, like that different prelims courses used to be there. Now there what happens is we used to teach the subject. Now when I teach the subject, again the ancient India, medieval India, it will take let's say 15 hours, 20 hours, right? So once you start again, when you are teaching in the class, again we come up with the same fact and the same things, the things will change. Now another reason why people think that it is content and they fail miserably is because direct question will be somewhere around 35 to 40, you can say. Every year around 75 to 80 marks will be in such a way. If you have prepared well, you can do it, right? So that if you prepare for 2 months also, 3 months also, you will be knowing that 30-35 question if you have covered your basics. At the same time, if you have prepared for 5 months also, you will be knowing only that 35-40 question. Now where this difference will happen is when you want to attend more than that remaining question. Within that remaining 60 question, let's say if I want to make sure that I should get somewhere around 20-30 extra questions correct. For that, basically it is not just about the content, it is application of the content. Second, since this subject, for example ancient India, medieval India, before starting it, I just want to have a discussion about it first, right? So before understanding this, what will happen in general, right? How many of you have written prelims last time? So how much you are scoring? 70s. Anybody else has written, or everybody is writing for the first time this time? Good, good, right? So yeah, again the reason is the same thing again, right? So another idea is basically when you start in the month of January, you will not have enough time to equip yourself with the skills, right? There are two things. One is basically say the intuition. How do you apply the basic and eliminate the option, right? Another is basically a pure knowledge question. Pure knowledge question you can cover even if you start from January. But if you want to apply that skill, if you want to equip yourself with eliminating the option, looking the question in a different way, for that at least you should have start it early, right? So when you start it early, see the PYQs, have the broader understanding what kind of trends are coming, what is the language that UPSC will ask, then I might align my thought process. Oh, this cannot be the answer, this may be the answer, for the same reason, right? So in that way, if you start now, you will be having a broader understanding. Okay, within this chapter, what you are supposed to study. Within this chapter, what you are not supposed to study. Right? And we have seen that the prelims has become the most difficult stage for most of the student. Right? Because you would have practiced your answer writing, right, for 1 year long. So once you get an opportunity to write a mains, you will be in a position to, score good also, because mains is not something very unpredictable. If you know that, if I study this main syllabus, question will be somewhere around that only. If you have prepared, your short notes and things are ready, then you will be positioned to write a good answer if you practice it well. But prelims is not something like that. You have prepared something, but question might not appear. So that means that it is not, if I just because of prepare a content, I will be in a position to clear. That will not happen in that way. So that is why this year what we have planned is, because of many students after working that 4-5 months continuously, then we thought that let them understand what is that they are supposed to study first, so that they will be in a good position before they actually dwell themselves into prelims. Then what will happen is, your 5 months you will utilize it in a more productive way rather than just consuming the information. Keeping that in mind, we have just started it, but initially I thought of starting it online, right? That is YouTube videos. But the problem with YouTube videos is, again, you cannot ask the question, or it will not have two-way conversation. It is like a monologue. I should stand like this and talking for such long period, right? And also for the students, what is one more problem is happening is, if I do, let's say, up to Mauryas, I have done it in pre-Mauryas, let's say we have done it in YouTube, you can go and watch it basically, right? So one problem I felt, that the screen time will become, let's say, 3 hours video, 2.5 hours video. It becomes very difficult to watch 3 hours video, 4 hours video when you are also doing other part of your syllabus. So what I thought is, we will have it here. Here you can, in an offline mode, you can listen to 2 hours. But watching something online and then making the notes, sometimes it will not be visible properly. Audio issues will be there. So now, if you do this, what we can do is, we can take the same video, but not entirely, but only related to, let's say, we are discussing now. This will not be coming to YouTube basically, right? So only what is discussed with respect to the chapters, that we can put it as a chapter wise in the YouTube, so that automatically it will be 40 minutes, 35 minutes video. It becomes easy for your understanding also, right? So now, from here I will start Mauryas. Maybe today we will try to cover Mauryas, post Mauryas, and then Guptas. In the next class, I will have post Guptas as well as Sangam age. That will end your ancient India, right? Now, if you look at basically the Mauryas, it is one of the very important themes. The questions are repeatedly asked, right? So what are the things that has been asked? Now we will begin. First, we will go through the question, try to understand what is the kind of question, and then you yourself will understand what is the broader area you are supposed to prepare and what are the minute area that you are supposed to skip off, right? Now, first question, it has asked in prelims 2020. Who among the following ruler advised his subjects? Subject means what? Citizens. Through this inscription, right? First, whoever praises his religious sects or blames other sect out of excessive devotion to his own sect with the view of glorifying his own sect, he rather injures his own sect very severely, right? Now, what are the things that you are going to observe here? What should be the answer here? Right? Ashoka. Ashoka. Right. The Ashoka will be your answer. Now, there are two ways to look into it, right? One, broader understanding of history will help you to understand this. When Ashoka has started this Dhamma, he has not told that there is a separate Dhamma that one should follow. Dhamma is what? Basically a moral code of conduct that he has told that, overall you have to respect your elders, you have to take care of animals. Like that, he is basically a moral, the kind of conduct that has to be followed. And it has been taken good thing from all the religion. It is not a separate religion as such. It is more of a moral code of conduct, right? Now, there are many things that you have to observe. One is basically the inscription. When we are talking about inscriptions, right? Who has given inscription? Now, if you know about Samudragupta, there is famous one inscription. What is that inscription? Allahabad inscription, right? But you don't see Harshavardhana or Krishnadevaraya talking about in the inscriptions, right? So in that way also you will be in a position to understand that who is one who has been more allotted with the inscription. So whenever you are reading the question also, you try to see the keywords also. Let's say it is about inscription, who is having the more inscription in that way, right? So in that way you will be in a position to understand. But the key point here is the inscription of Ashoka and the major content of it becomes important to your examination. That means that in which inscription or the major pillar inscription he has spoken about, let's say Kalinga war. He is remorseful about the Kalinga war. In which of the pillar inscription he spoke about giving the lesser tax for basically Lumbini, right? So kind of all the inscription, let's say if there are major 14 major edicts inscription that you are supposed to know, and in the minor inscription if there is something very specific. For example, in Musky inscription, he has given his name for the first time. In other inscription, it is just Devanam Piya, Piyadasi, like that only. Whatever the titles he was having, that used to be there, but you are not having his personal name. What was his name? That you can see in the Musky inscription. So in the minor inscription, you don't need to mug up everything. Is there anything specific? You should be knowing about it. But the major inscription, it is important to go through it once, right? So now the question is about inscription. Next, in which of the following relief sculpture the inscription is the Ranyo Ashoka, again mentioned along with this stone portrait of Ashoka, right? So what is the answer here? Again, you know that it is again comes with the minor inscriptions only, right? Because the name of the Ashoka has been mentioned only in the that is basically with the Kanganahalli, right? Now the Sanchi, where is it? Sanchi Stupa, right? Where is this Shahbazgari? Where is it? One, whenever they are giving the broader option, you should have a broader understanding of that optional also. What is this Shahbazgari is basically, where it is located. The broader idea, you need not to again go very deep, right? So it is in the northwestern or in the Afghanistan region, right? So then basically Sohogora. Sohogora is, what is that Sohogora is famous for? Sohogora has been asked twice. Which of the following is not in the Indus Valley site? There also they have given one of the option as Sohogora. What is the Sohogora? Paleolithic site? No. Here you can have Maurya's copper plate inscription, which talks about Chandragupta Maurya and Maurya kingdom. So that is basically the copper plate inscription which gives the information about Mauryas will be found in Sohogora, right? So that is basically the Kanganahalli will be your answer, right? So again, you can see that within the Ashoka inscription, because here it is not about whether you know the answer or not, but what you are observing, what is being asked. In Ashoka, what is being asked? That is the question. In Mauryas, what is the question? That is the theme that is being asked. Thus, the inscription becomes very important theme, right? Now, Ashoka's inscription, first deciphered by James Prinsep, right? So now again, when you are talking about James Prinsep, you should be knowing that he is the one who deciphered basically, Brahmi script also, as well as Kharoshti script. Both are the script used during the Ashokan inscription, right? So now Kharoshti script, Brahmi is basically, it is in the which language? Script and language, there are two different things, right? Script is basically you will have letters and other things will be there, right? Language is basically what we have spoken. Many language might not have script. That means that the language is there, word is there, but they do not have their own symbol to represent it, right? For example, we might not have script for Tulu, right? So they speak it, the language is there, word is there, meaning is there, but the language will not be written under some language, right? The script is where what you will represent it. So that is, usually at that point of time, right? Prakrit, Pali, these are the languages for there, right? For that, basically, you can talk about the Brahmi script that has been done. And then basically, when he was expanding his kingdom in the northwestern part of India, right? At that point of time, Indo-Greeks were there. So whenever he wants to send the message to them, they were not having local language that is about Brahmi, right? So then what you have to do, he has to come up with the new script, which is basically Kharoshti script. It has been derived from Aramic language, Greek and Aramic language. So so that they can understand what he is talking about, right? So that is basically the Kharoshti script, right? So both has been deciphered by James Prinsep, right? So the broader understanding that, again, the question is about inscription. The point is here what? It is about inscription, right? Next. Ashoka annexed Kalinga to the Mauryan Empire. Yes. Now Kalinga control the land and sea route to South India, right? So where is Kalinga? Odisha, right? So that means that, again if you look at it, this is correct and this is also correct. That is why, before Mauryas, the eastern part was basically not has been captured, right? Once they have got that, the Kalinga, where you have that, Dauli inscription is there. So that is basically the started giving an access to the southern India also. So that means that both are correct and the second one gives the reason to the first one. But these kind of question now they are not asking because it is a subjective. Right now, the question, if you see from the last 5-6 years or let's say last 10 years, UPSC before what they were doing as asking assertion and reasoning kind of question also. But later what has happened is, as you know that, the, ICHR, that is Indian Council for Historical Research. Those basically they told UPSC, history can be studied in different perspectives. Some historian tells why he did this. Some historian tells why he did this. Now, when it is subjective, it depends upon which book you have studied. So that is why the ambiguity will increase if you start asking the question from the subjective mode kind of question. So what they have done, they have started asking more fact-based question only, so that in every book or every source that has to be correct. Right, there should not be any ambiguity between this. So because of this, basically this kind of question now has been cannot be seen of assertion reasoning mostly in the history part. You can see that in geography, economy, polity, where concept is involved. There here they are asking that question, but history you should be not asking. However, the the Kalinga War, it has been spoken in Major Edict 13, right? So Major Edict 13, it has been spoken about the Kalinga War. So you should just know that in which it has been. Here he has told that he has been remorseful. Why he has been so many killing has happened, right? But he did not. That did not mean that he stopped the war, or he did not mean that he disbanded the army, right? In many of the question, how they have asked, after Kalinga War, he disbanded the standing army, right? Or he gave it back. Due to that remorsefulness, he gave back or restored the Kalinga War. He did not restore it. He just became remorseful. Then he told that our policy should be basically not Berigosha, right? Berigosha is winning from the war. That should not stop. We should have more of a Dhammagosha. Dhammagosha means we should have a more of a cultural conquest, or we should have more of a moral victory rather than having this war and killing the more men. So the policy has been changed in a larger aspect, but it did not have effect on this, right? So the answer would be both A and R true, and R is the correct explanation of A, right? Next, again, Ashokan inscription in Afghanistan are written in which one of the following, right? This is a tricky question, right? Brahmi script, Sharda script, Kharoshti script, Greek and Aramic script. What he has written? Sharda script, this came in the medieval India, or during the Gupta's period it has started coming basically. It was much after the Maurya's period Sharda script has started coming. So Brahmi, no, it is in other part. Now if you look at, the confusion is between these two, right? So now if you closely observe, in the northwestern India, he has used this. That is the present Pakistan region, right? That is the northwestern at that point of time, where he has used the Kharoshti. But when it goes to Afghanistan, basically it was not even Kharoshti. It was completely Greek Aramic, right? So that means that, that is the close change. Up to northwestern part of India, Kharoshti was there. But when you go to Afghanistan, then rather than Kharoshti, it is mostly of Greek and Aramic script only, because they were, more the rulers were Greek and Aramic there, and the language use also used as Greek Aramic. So that means that there are three types of script has been used in Maurya's administration or during Ashoka. One is Brahmi, that is in the entire part of India. In the northwestern part of India, it was Kharoshti. Then it is far northwest, that is basically Afghanistan. This has been used as Greek Aramic language, right? So again, what is the question? Inscription. This is the observation you have to do, right? Every year, what is, again, in which of the following inscription was installed the easternmost part of Ashoka's territory, where you can have the easternmost territory, right? So that means that here there are two types of question. One, it is about inscription. Other, it is about the geographical extent of the, or how much the empire was expanded. What is its geographical extent that you are having, right? So You know that during the Ashoka, there were different provinces, right? In the northwest, we can have Taxila, right? In the western India, we are having Ujjain, right? Then in the southern, we have Suvarnagiri, right? Now here in the central, we have Pataliputra, right? Here in the eastern part, it is Dauli or Tosala, right? So that is basically the Kalinga. When he annexed Kalinga, he also expanded his kingdom to the eastern part of the country. So that is in the Dauli, basically, that is the easternmost part of the inscription that can be seen. One, it is about inscription. Second, it is about basically the geographical expansion of the Mauryas, right? Again, you know, which one is this? Dauli, right? So Dauligiri inscription is somewhat the latest one. So that is your answer, right? So again, whenever these kind of 4 inscription has been given, now Barabar Hill Cave inscription. What is this Barabar Cave is known for? Where is Barabar Caves in the first place? Barabar and Nagarjuni Caves. Where are they? They are in Maharashtra. Where are they? They are in Bihar, right? So what they are known for? There was a famous cave there, which is called as Lomas Rishi Cave. Okay, this is a very famous cave. So what is this known for? This has been given as a viharas for whom? Ajivikas, right? The Ajivikas is another kind of Buddhism, Jainism. There was another sect called Ajivika sect, right? So what is this Ajivika sect is known for? What is their philosophy? You can tell, I did not hear you. Pleasure, okay. They were known for more of a pleasure, that is more of a Charvakas basically, right? So what is this? No, they were also more of ascetics only. They were, without dress only, they were roaming Ajivikas. It is not that they were enjoying the life in other way. But what is their philosophy? Their philosophy mostly is basically the Niyati philosophy. Right? What is Niyati? Everything is depending on fate. It is nothing called karma, nothing called bhakti, nothing is there. Fate is already decided. What is going to happen, that is going to happen. You cannot change the things. So that is called as Niyati philosophy, and the Ajivikas are known for this. This Lomas Rishi cave or Lomas Rishi cave has been given as viharas for Ajivikas by Dasharatha, who is grandson. So again, it is a basic information that you are supposed to know about, right? Now again, Ashoka's inscriptions. This is 2024 question, right? Suggest that 25, right? Pradeshika, Rajuka, Yukta, right? This term has been used, right? Now, which were the important office at the, right? So that means that what is the question? One, it can be told as inscription, but just it is one of the source that we have inscription, right? So that does not mean that question is on about inscription, but it is about what? The administration of Mauryas, right? So what is this answer is about? Right? What is this Pradeshika, Rajuka, Yukta? How Maurya's administration was there? Let's say it was majorly central administration, but when it comes to provinces, right? Kumara or the prince used to handle it. Below that there was a district, right? Which is basically called as, again, Pradeshika. Within that basically there is a district. Within that, the Rajuka was the revenue collector, right? Initially he was revenue collector, then later the judicial function also has been assigned to Rajuka, and subordinate to them was Yukta, right? So that means that it is mostly of the district level administration rather than provincial. It is district level. When you take Rajuka and Yukti, it will become more of a the provincial administration. That means that again the administrative structure of the Mauryas becomes important. Just names how their administration structure was, right? So what we are observing is what is the kind of question they are asking, right? Should we mug up all the terminologies, or we should understand the broader perspective? That way we are understanding this, right? Next, which one of the elements does not come under the category of 4 noble animals, Maha Ajaya Pasu, carved on the round drum on the lion capital of Saranath, right? So you have seen that lion capital, which has been taken in our national emblem also, right? So there basically you can have lion's foresight, right? Then there is a abacus. Here basically there are 4 different animals. Each animal is differentiated by dharma chakras, right? So what are these 4 animals that has been represented, right? Which are the animals here represented? One is lion, right? Second it is bull, right? Then it is horse, then it is elephant, right? These were the 4 animals that has been mentioned. So what is not there? Basically deer is not there among that 4 animals, right? So that is the question, right? Now if you look at it again, this is about your Saranath edict, right? Or the capitals that you can see. This is a regular one, right? So the dharma chakra has been taken. Then along with that, this the lotus, the bull kind of thing, right? Or the inverted lotus kind of thing that has been taken into our national emblem. Along with that, from Mundaka Upanishad, what we have taken? Satyameva Jayati. So we have added and made it as a national emblem, right? Now, so similarly, important capitals you have to study. That means that the more of art and architecture, right, about that time. So single horse capital, where you can find single horse capital, single lion capital, right? Where is this single lion capital? Here it is 4 capital, 4 lions are there, right? Similarly, a single lion capital is there. Where you can find it? That is Lauryanandagar, right? The Lauryanandagar, basically you can see the single lion capital. Similarly, in the Rampurva, you can have bull capital. Bull capital can be seen in the district, right? So, okay. Then where do you have your elephant capital? Sankisa, right? These are the important capitals. Either individually animal capital are there, or this Saranath capital where 4 lions are there. This information you should be having in the understanding. Again, if you look at it during the Ashoka, edicts becomes important. Pillars, monolithic pillars. These are basically monolithic pillars, where you have these capitals in these monolithic pillars, right? These monolithic pillars, what they have been used for? Or that is just to say the imperialism of the kingdom has to be shown through these pillars. They just represent, we are here also, we are here also, we are in the eastern part also, we are in the central part also, right? So in that way, basically most important things has been done. Now here, what is this pillar is made about? And this pillar idea has been influenced by what? Persian influence is there. So that means that the comparison between Ashokan pillar and Persian pillar, you should be having the broader understanding. Here we have a monolithic. Monolithic means what? Mono means single, lithic means basically stone. Single stone pillars we are having. They were having a segmented pillars, right? One, different part has been attached there. Here, only one pillar has been there. Then abacus, right? So, the same thing basically that you can see, right? Similarly, the material used was chunar, or the sandstone that we are talking about. So, broader understanding of what is this monolithic pillar, because it is the unique feature of Ashoka which you cannot find anywhere after that. So that means that it becomes very important, and since it has been influenced by the Persian influence, you should have that comparison between how it is different from Persia as well as Ashoka's pillar inscription, the broader understanding, right? Again, in Kautilya's Arthashastra, right, the conqueror king is expected to establish the conquered territory a social order based on what? That means that a king will basically conquer territory. There he goes and then he will put his rules to the people, right? So it should be on what order? What are the various things the citizen who will be subjected to his conquer, right? Those people who are from the conquered land, what they are supposed to follow? What is the social order that they are supposed to follow? That Kautilya in his Arthashastra talking about, right? Now for these question, again, you don't need to mug up and remember everything and then do it. It is about whatever the system prevalent at that point of time, whatever the things were prevalent, society, how it was there at that point of time. Looking at that only, you have to try to answer this kind of question, right? So now, Varna system only, first option. Second, Dharma, Varna, and then Ashrama system, right? Next, Dharma only. then Varna and Ashrama systems. What should be the answer? What should be the answers? You think about that kind of kingdom, when you are having Maurya, and what was their societal structure at that point of time. So what should have been the more answers? What it should have been? What is it's basically, Ashrama system is related to? First thing, first ask about what is Varna system. What is Varna system? Caste-based division with respect to occupation. You have to do this, your father was doing this, you have to do this, your son has to do this. Right, so that is basically the Varna system. You cannot change your Varna or depending on others. So was it rigid during the Mauryan period because it is the early period? Yes, after later Vedic period, the Varna system has become prevalent in the society. So that means that when the new society has been taken over, the Varna system also has to be followed there. What is Ashrama system? What is Ashrama? Different periods of life, right? Brahmacharya, right? Grahastha, Vanaprastha, right? So that means that how it will begin before marriage. You will be Brahmacharya stage. Then you will become married, right? After that you will have that your moksha and you want to go everything, leaving aside everything, you want to Vanaprastha. That is, you want to go to forest and practice this. These are the 4 stages, different stages of basically your district. Now, if the system has to work, right? If the system has to work, one after Grahaprastha, if you starting moving to Grahasthas to, let's say he started moving to Vanaprastha, then you will not get the laborers, you will not get the active citizens. So what Kautilya has said this, in the Grahastha system, most of the people has to fulfill all their duty. Once they're done with everything, then they can move to Vanaprastha. So that means that so that the people can stay there and work for the development of the kingdom. So the ashrama system is also important, where more the preference has been given to Grahastha stage of the ashrama system. And Dhamma, that anyways, once you go there, Dhamma is not about religion, it is about the moral code of conduct. Again, they will have to fulfill that moral code of conduct. That is, you have to respect your elders, you have to look after the animals also. All these things, what is a regular thing that has been told, you have to respect, or the religious tolerance with respect to other religion has to be there. All those is Dhamma. Dhamma anyways will always continue. So the answer would be, Dharma, Varna, as well as ashrama system. It has been spoken by Kautilya. It does not mean that I should study Kautilya's Arthashastra, then only I will answer this. For these kind of question, always, don't go by your knowledge. Many students, what they do, they think I have not studied Kautilya in that depth. It was just one para, I was not knowing this. Only that, you should be knowing what was the social structure and try to answer this kind of question. Right? Again, which one of the following activity was not a part of the daily timetable for king as prescribed in Arthashastra? Right? So that means that now again, this also you cannot study and go to the examination. There are certain questions you have to understand that I cannot study and go. Right? So now you read this and think that you are a king and you have some responsibilities on a daily basis. They have given a schedule actually, 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. It has been made into, 8 different jobs that has been done in the morning time. Again in the evening time, next 12 hours. That is again, 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. Some responsibility has been given to king. Now, by reading this, you should be in a position to understand what could have been the responsibility that makes sense, what the king himself will not expected to do. He can have a system to do it, right? Some things I can have a system to do it. Some I have to do as a king. That is your own responsibility because you are owning that kingdom. Right? You are ruling that kingdom. So, by reading this, you should be in a position to do this in the exam. Again, I don't tell you to leave this question if you are not prepared. It is not that way it goes. Right? Whenever you are reading, whether it is making sense or not as a king. Right? Let's read one. Receive reports on defense. Who should do this? Whether it should be done by king or not. King, yes. Then visit the town in incognito. That means that, what is incognito? That is spies. In a spy system, you should go, you should, become, incognito mode in Google Chrome. What is that? It is not visible to others. Right? So that means that you are going in that mode. That is the second option. King himself has to roam around the city and see what is happening. That is the second option. Third, receive revenue in cash. Right? Some part of the revenue you can receive in the cash directly. Third, consult his council of ministers. Right? To do what to do next. That is has to consult. So what can be assigned to somebody else? Receive revenue in cash. That is, he should know how much revenue he is getting. The revenue in cash is again the responsibility of the king. So here what he'll have, he have a spy system, espionage system. They will go and report to him. He himself will not go. He'll appoint the, Gudachara system was there, right? So the Gudachara system, what it was there, it is a spy system. There are two different types of spies were there. Samstya spies, or it can be Sanchara spies. Sanchara spies means those people who are walking around one place to other place, they will be giving the information. Samstha means what? They are doing their job only. People will come to them. Let's say I have a shop. People will come there. They will be talking about many things. I will inform. So, generally morning time people are talking like this. They are not happy with this. In my hotel, they were talking like this. So, I will give the information. That is the espionage system, right? So, it can be either you are standing there and doing it, or you are moving and doing. Let's say postman is there. He is anyways, has to travel from one place to another place. Trader, to trade his goods, he will travel from one place to other. Merchants, they were being used as a Sanchari Guda Vyavastha. That means that basically they will be roaming around and then they are getting the information to the king. King himself need not to go every time. That is not his responsibility. If he wants, he can go. But that is not the duty that has been put on him. If he is, interested, I want to see myself, then he can go. But that is not something, because it is most about the security also at that point of time, right? So it is basically the option B is not correct, that he is not needed to go to this, right? But again, it is okay, right? Ashoka's inscription in Manestra and Shahbazgari were written in. Okay. Again, where is this Manestra? Where is this Shahbazgari? This question has already been asked. Where is Shahbazgari has been, I told you, right? So, Prakrit language, Kharoshti script. Prakrit language, Brahmi script. Prakrit Aramic language, Brahmi script. Aramic language, Kharoshti script. What should be the answer? Where is this Manesara or where is this Shahbazgari? The northwestern part. So what language they were knowing about? They were not been completely conquered by, Mauryas, right? They were also, Indo-Greeks were there at that point of time. So that what they were doing, they were using the Greek Aramic language. Also the script was basically Kharoshti. But if you go further down to Afghanistan, then it is mostly about Greek and Aramic script itself. So that is the broader understanding of the script during that point of time, right? Now, head of the district, Azira, the principal coordinate of the revenue, and the officer in charge of general and military function, his jurisdiction during the Mauryan Empire was known as. What was his job? One is collection of revenue, and he is also in charge of some, general and military functions. Right? Now, again, see this and tell me, what can be, the answer? Crowry. What is crore? What is crowry? Crowry was the term used for revenue collection where the revenue is more than 1 crore. Right? So that is during the Mughal period. Right? Similarly, Rajuka, where it comes? What is the job of the Rajuka? Maurya's administration. Initially, he was in charge of collecting the revenue. Later, he has been assigned the military functions as well. Now come to Faujudar. Faujudar, is it a local, language word, or it has been a word that has been during the British time, during the Mughal time or Delhi Sultanate time, right? So what term it is? Fauj. Now also we'll use the Fauj. Military. The Fauj is what term is? Whether it is a local Indian language term or it is a basically Hindi or a Urdu kind of term. So it has been come during the Delhi Sultanate again, right? Similarly, Sirastadar that we say, Tahsildar, Sirastadar. All this has come during later part. They were not the part of the, all these words, if you read this word also, you have to understand that these were not the term that has been used during that time. So, the Rajuka that you are already aware of, that will be your answer, right? Again, the question is about what? Administration. Try to understand what is the question is being asked. One, it is about more about scripts, inscriptions, or it is about larger administration, or about its art and culture. What are the major edicts? What are the pillar inscriptions? Right? All those things. Right? Now, the Dhamma propagated by Ashoka was, okay, one, the tenets of Buddhism. Second, it is a mixture of philosophy of Ajivika and Charvakas. Third, a system of moral consistent with the tenets of most of the sects of that time. And then religious policy of the state. It should be the system of morals, that is respecting your elders, looking after someone who is not wealthy, right? So that is basically which is consistent with the tenets of the most of the sect. Buddhism also tells the same thing, right? Be kind, be ahimsa, right? So whatever the sects which are having the moral tenets, that code of conduct is nothing but Dhamma. It was not a separate state religion, right? This clarity you should be having with respect to Ashoka's Dhamma, right? Again, which of the following material were used for minting coins during the rule of time of Mauryas? Which coins were used? Gold and silver first, second silver and copper, third copper and bronze, gold and copper. If you want to eliminate, what will you eliminate? Gold. Gold, when did gold come? Which time? Gupta's majorly gold was there, but when it was introduced? Mostly the transaction happened during Gupta's was mostly it was, the gold coin or dinars, what we say, that was correct. But where it was started? Initially, who started giving you the gold coins? Who started giving you the gold coins? That is Indo-Greeks. They, the post-Mauryas, whatever we see, they have started with the gold coin, right? Then the quality of the gold coin was further increased during the time of Kushanas, right? The Kanishka given, the highest quality of gold. However, its presence was very less. Wherever he wants to have important things, there he used to give the gold, but highest quality of gold. But when it comes to Guptas, majority was basically gold coated coin was there. So that is, it become prevalent during Guptas, but it has started during Indo-Greeks and become highest quality during Kushans, and then basically, so that is basically the gold was not a part of Mauryas anyways. So gold will go, right? Now you have silver and copper, copper and bronze. What are the majority coins that you are seeing? That is silver coins was the major coin of Mauryas, and also there were some copper coins. The silver coins basically also called as Pana, right? Sharpanas. So that is basically used for basically the Mauryas coin terminology that they were using. That is, the silver coins were majorly used along with some, the copper coins as well, right? So that is basically about the numismatics. Now, which of the following system was not part of Kautilya's Saptanga theory of the state, right? So what is Saptanga theory? Now, if you look at one more important theme is what? Kautilya's Arthashastra. Many question has been asked on the Kautilya's Arthashastra. With this, you will not get in your book. This you have to study separately, because every time they are asking, so I have to go one step ahead, and important theory proposed by Kautilya has to be studied. Not just sticking to the either it can be your NCRT or it can be your class notes. Kautilya's theory might not have been spoken in large. Along with that, you also have Megasthenes, who has come and wrote about Maurya's administration in his book called Indica. Right now, one more kind of question can be the differences between what Megasthenes has observed, what the Kautilya has observed. Right, the Kautilya is someone, document is more authentic because he was part of that administration. Megasthenes was more of a traveler. He has seen it from outside. He assumed the things because he told that there was no slave system. Right? Why he told that there was no slave system? But Kautilya has given in detail who can become slave, how, what are the rights related to slaves, how we can, from the slave, how we can become normal again. All these detail has been given in detail about the slave system by Kautilya. But Megasthenes has told that there was no slave system in India during the Maurya period. Because for him, what was the slave system? Slave system means, in the Greek world, you are treating slave means you are taking him and torturing him, doing these things. Here, slave does not mean that you have to be tortured, because during the Maurya time, there were many rules also to protect the rights of the slaves also. You can be buy him as a slave, or you can give somebody as a slave as a judicial punishment also. Somebody can, voluntarily become a slave, right? But however, it was not as harsh as what it was seen in the Greek time. So whatever that he observed, he did not think that it is a slave system, because they were also happy. They were also having some rights. So he was not thinking that the actual slave system that was there in the Greek system. That's why he told that there was no Greek, the slave system in the Greek. Similarly, he did not talk about Varna system. He talked about, there were sevenfold classification of the society based on profession. But he did not understand that it is birthright. He was thinking that this profession is one class, right? So that means that, philosophers, which is basically Brahmanas and Sramanas, they are one category. Farmers, they are one category. Similarly, herdsmen, right? They are one category. Craftsmen or artisans, they are one category. Like that, he has made 7 classification of the system based on their occupation. He thinks that, he was not knowing that it is a Varna system. Within that, basically, upward mobility is not there. The intermobility between the Varna system is not there. That he did not understand. He thought that different professions will be followed by different people. So like that, he did not talk about Varna system, but Kautilya has given in detail about Varna system. Right? So that means that is another difference between them. Similarly, the military system, how it was happening, right? Only one extra information that you get in detail about, the Megasthenes Indica is how Pataliputra as a capital was being maintained as a municipality. They were having 30 members ka committee. There were 6 committees. Within each committee, there were 5 people, and then they were managing different things. So that is one thing extra that has been told by him, which has not been in detail explained by the Kautilya's Arthashastra. So you should be knowing that difference between Kautilya's Arthashastra also, at the same time Megasthenes Indica also. That can be a next level of question that if they want to make it little difficult, then they will compare Kautilya and Megasthenes. Right? That is another way to understand it. Now, what is this Saptanga theory? Sapta Anga. Right? As the word it is saying. What is Sapta means? 7. Anga means basically body parts. Right? So, overall system to function well, how our body has to function, he has given different, parts of the body to different, the administration part. For example, king is the head. Right? So that means that similarly, you should have a very good fort. Right? That is your arms, so that you can protect yourself. Right? That is called as Durga. Right? Similarly, you need money. That is called as Kosha. Right? Similarly, there are many parts has been given. Like that, 7 parts of the body he has given. Right? One is Mitra, how good friends you are having, so that you can protect yourself. How Danda, Danda means military, how strong you are having, so that you can protect yourself. Like that, he has given Amatyas, or the Council of Minister, who can manage the system. Right? So like that, he has given 7 parts, which is helping you to, manage the system. That is called Saptanga theory. So near the question is, which of the following is not part of Kautilya's Saptanga theory? One is Amatya. Amatya is basically nothing but ministers. It was again, the bureaucracy is one of the important part of the administration. Yes. Next, Janapada. Janapada means territory. People becomes very important. Then Durga. Durga means port. Right? That is also another important part. Then finally, Dhamma. Dhamma is not part of your, the Saptanga theory. Right? That is basically how it runs. But, to maintain your system safety, what you should need? You need, the fort. You need Danda. Danda means basically the police system. You need a king who himself look at everything. Kosha. Kosha means basically money to run the show. So that is basically what you are getting. Amatyas, who will run the show. That is basically similarly Janapadas. That is your territory and your own people. There also becomes very much. They should not fight against the system later. So you have to manage them well also. Right? He told that, in the welfare of your subject, welfare of the king lies. Right? So as long as your people are happy, king will also maintain his this thing. Right? So, right. Now again, the question is about what? The Kautilya's Arthashastra. Right? Next. The only inscribed stone portrait of the Emperor Ashoka. Now, if you can see, this has asked in CDS 2014. In 2019, again in UPSC, they had asked the same question. Right? So that means that, here the Sanchi stupa you are having, Amravati stupa, right? Kanganahalli, Ajanta. Right? So what should be the answer? Kanganahalli. So this is a repeated question. That is why if you have to solve different papers which is conducted by UPSC, you will be knowing the same themes you will be repeating. Right? Shahbazgiri, that is also repeated. The script, that is also repeated in a kind. So if you know that these are the themes that I have to prepare, then I will be well prepared for these things. So when this kind of question comes, you will not be in a position to, miss it out. Right? So next. This is again, CDS question. Right? King Ashoka abolished capital punishment and disbanded his army. Is it correct? This is, the King Ashoka abolished the capital punishment and disbanded his army. Is it correct? Did he disband his standing army? Army was always there. He did not, disband capital punishment also. Capital punishment also was the harsh punishment has to be kept. right? So he did not become, a route of non-violence has been taken. Only unnecessarily he will not go and kill someone. That is his policy. That does not mean that I will not defend myself, right? Similarly, he did not disband the army, as well as capital punishment has been kept as it is. What is second? After Kalinga war, Ashoka was remorseful and became a Buddhist, right? That is correct. So the answer should be 2 only. That is, the first statement is incorrect, second statement is correct. Because because of the Kalinga war, many people think that, then he felt bad about himself, then he stopped the war, right? So he start about Beri Gosha to Dhamma Gosha, right? So he has announced this policy. Now we will promote more of a, welfare of the people, that we will promote. That does not mean that I will disband the standing army, right? So answer would be what? It is second statement is correct. First one is false, but the second is right. Next, consider the following pair. Again, high officers and concerned departments. Again, if you look at administration of Maurya, become very, very important, right? Now again, Sannidata, treasurer; Samartha, chief collector of revenue; Dandapala, chief of army; and Karmika, record cum audit officer. Okay, now this much has been given, right? So now you tell me, Sannidata is a treasurer, right? It's okay. If you don't know now, you have to understand that these are the terminology related to Council of Minister or the jobs has to be studied, right? Now, who is Dandapala? Who is the army chief? During their administration, he used to have a Council of Ministers. Within that, any important decision used to be taken by, in that Council of Ministers, who used to be there? One Yuvaraja was to be there, prince. He should understand how the things has to be done. Second, there was Purohita, right? That is basically the priest who will tell, whether this is correct or not, that way. And something military commander who is called as Senapati. Dandapala is mostly for the law and order maintenance, not about the military chief. Military chief was what? Senapati, right? Similarly, Karmika, record cum audit officer, this is incorrect. It is basically more about, the minting, right? So that is about Karmika. So these two are given wrong. But again, if you don't know the answer, it's fine. But the problem is what we are discussing here is, what is the kind of question they are asking, what we are supposed to prepare. So how many of them are correct, or which of them are correct? 1 and 2 are correct, right? Now the last one, right? The Antariya was a garment worn by people during Mauryan period, right? It was, okay, an unstitched length of cloth draped around the body, right? The sewn garment consisting of a sleeve tunic, a head covering used exclusively by women, then a piece of made strip sewn together, tied at the waist with a cord. So what should be the answer? Right, this is basically, this is okay. Again, if you don't know this, this is also a more technical. There was Antariya, Uttariya, right? Uttariya means upper body clothes. Antariya means lower body clothes, right? Then there is Kaya Bandha, how you connect to them and all. So that is basically the garment has been used, right? So this is a kind of difficult question which has been seen by Megasthenes. He has been spoken about the dress that they were wearing, right? So that is fine basically. But now if you look at it, right? Last one, Arthashastra with respect to, right? Maybe this has been gone somewhere here. We'll study this. According to Kautilya's Arthashastra, which of the following are correct? Okay. 1, a person could be a slave as a result of judicial punishment, right? Second, a female slave bore her master a son, she was legally free. Okay. Third, if a son born to a female slave was fathered by her master, the son was entitled to legal status of the master. 3 things has been given. Now, this is again too depth to understand the thing. Now, if I am attending this question, what I suggest, I will not say that, you have to leave this question. First, always bring yourself to the system at that point of time, what kind of society it was, whether it makes sense or not. Now, you have to understand, Kautilya's Arthashastra examiner cannot study entire about slave system and then frame the question. He is also picking this question from some other standard book where it has been spoken about, right? So whenever they are speaking these kind of things, what we will go through or how we will solve them is, we read the question, try to understand whether it makes sense keeping that time as the time period, whether it is making sense to you or not, right? Thinking about that situation. If it is making sense, then it would be correct, because it has been dealt in very detail in Kautilya's Arthashastra. From there, one para from some book has been taken and framed the question. So examiner, while he wants to make something incorrect, it has to be definitely incorrect. But if it is making sense, it will be 100% correct. This you should always remember, right? Now let's understand. A person could be a slave as a result of judicial punishment. Is it correct or not? If he has something, something has done which is completely heinous crime, can he be made as a slave so that, he can have that punishment as a slave? That makes sense or not make sense? Makes sense? Okay. Now, what kind of society was that? What is it, a patriarchal or a matriarchal society? Patriarchal. That means that, the male child has been given utmost importance, right? And now, what they are telling, if a female slave was there, a master is there, he will buy a slave who is a female, right? After that, she bore her master a son. Let's say master is not having a son, he gave birth to a son and gave it to a master. She was legally free. Can he give her free? Because she has given her what? The son. And in the patriarchal society, the son becomes very important. Now, the third statement, if a son born to a female slave was fathered by master, that means that he has adopted him. Fathered by master means he told that he is my son anyway. That means that the son was entitled to the legal status of the master when he become adult, because he has been fathered or adopted by the father. So that means that he will become a legal heir in future. There is something confusion there? No, this is also making sense. As long as it is making sense, you should not worry too much about it. Thinking about that kind of society and whether it is making sense or not. So it is basically 2022 ka question, right? So this is also correct. So answer is 1, 2 and 3, right? So understood about overall this thing, right? So now this is how the question has been asked. Now if you look at it, right? So let me go through it once now, just to, clear off the things. So what you are supposed to study, right? First, when I am talking about Mauryas, right? First is always, whenever you are starting, understand the timeline, right? How it has been founded. If it is a major kingdom, right? Minor kingdom you can neglect, but if it is a major kingdom, who was the founder of it? Who is the founder of Maurya kingdom? That you are supposed to know. Let's say Chandragupta Maurya is the founder of Maurya kingdom. The timeline is basically from 322 BC to 185 BC. Right? Just have the broader understanding. Exact year is not required, but at least, from 4th century BC to, let's say, 2nd century BC. Like that, you should have the broader understanding. Right? Now, whom he has defeated? Dhanananda, who was basically a Nanda ruler. He has been overthrown by him, and it has been mentioned by the Kautilya's Arthashastra also, right? And he basically took, and it is also mentioned within Vishakadatta's Mudra Rakshasa. So here it has been, a story has been given how Chandragupta Maurya has become king by overthrowing a last Nanda king, who is Dhanananda, right? So this has been done. Then study about important sources which will give information about Mauryas. Right, at that point of time, books were not there, right? So you have to go through inscriptions, right? What are the major inscription that we can see? One is Sagora plate inscription, right? Which will give you idea about the Maurya kingdom. One, that is Sagora copper plate inscription. Right. Then you have Ashoka's pillar inscription, right? One that has been deciphered by James Prinsep. You started getting a lot of information about Maurya kingdom, right? So that is basically in the sources itself, you will get James Prinsep, known for deciphering both Brahmi as well as Kharoshti script, right? So this could be understood. Then you have to understand what is their geographical extent at the larger level, right? And third, you have to understand who were their contemporaries. That is, during Mauryas, here Sangam age was happening. So you should not study Sangam age as a separate chapter, Maurya as a separate chapter. Whenever you are studying any major kingdom, make sure that you understand which other kingdom were there in other part of the country, so that whenever the question can come, you will be in a position to answer with respect to contemporary kind of questions, right? So broader understanding. Then what you are supposed to know? Literary sources, right? That is, as I told you, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishakadatta. That will give you understanding of. So literary sources which is talking about this are, Ashoka Vadana or Divya Vadana. These, Buddhist text which also talked about how, the Ashoka has helped them. That is in that way. Similarly, inscription may, as I told you, pillar inscriptions, right? So within that you have major edicts, inscriptions, right? Study all the important 14, right? Within that, when you study, right, respect, for example, for religious tolerance has been spoken in major edict 7 and 12. So that first question when I told about, whoever blames the other religion, overprices his religion, will basically make sure that his religion itself will get affected. So that is when he is spoken about in the major edict 12 and 11. So that, 12 and 7. So in that way, you will have the broader understanding. If you have the edict, you can easily connect it to the king also. That is another. Similarly, Kalinga war, where it has been spoken about. Ahimsa, that is major edict 1, talked about Ahimsa. He banned basically killing of animals, sacrifice of animals basically. For that purpose, it has been banned. Animal sacrifice has been banned, which was basically prevalent during the pre-Mauryan time. That is, during that yajnas and thing, what they were doing, they were killing the animal. So the killing of the animal or sacrifice of the animal has been banned, or Ahimsa has been spoken in major edict 1. Right. Similarly, the welfare of the people or the animals, if they, there were many system has been created so that they can go to king and, look after them. That is in a major edict 2. Like that, important 14, because there are only 13, 14, and Ashoka becomes very important. Most of the question on Ashoka, you should not be saying that, I will study 1 or 2 important one. Wherever you feel important, go through them in detail. Minute thing you neglect, but major things always cover in detail. That is how basically you will get that extra marks. When I go important themes in depth and other themes just at the surface level. For example, post-Mauryas, just have the broader understanding. That would be fine. You don't need to king name and all. Here the political history, if you look at the question, how many questions are on political history? None. They have not told who defeated whom, except for Ashoka. Political history has been very, very less. Right? It is more about their contribution with respect to art and culture. That is what should be your focus. Then basically, with respect to society, right, just have a broader understanding. Whether what about Varna system? What about position of women? Right? If they were, whether the women were getting the property also. There is something called Stri Dana. Whenever, you are getting married, your father can give basically some worth of money that he wants to give. So he can inherit the property if it has given by their parents. So that basically the right to property Stri Dana is there. Similarly, they were given the employment as under the spy system. Right? Similarly, for textile weaving and other things also, they were given a this thing. So weaving, that is basically Sutradhyaksha. Right? Sutradhyaksha, that is basically, that is about textile weaving and other thing. That also women were employed. So the employment with respect to women was also there at that point of time. And even if in the marriage also, if they want to get divorce, that is also available, which is called as moksha. Right? So that they want to come out of it. This kind of broader understanding of what society was like. Not the keywords are the important thing, but broaderly how it was there at that point of time, that you are supposed to know. Then go to your political system. Within political, basically we are talking about administration. Right? One, we are having central administration. Right? Majorly king was there. Below him, there are 18 tirthas who are looking after the things. Right? After that, there were adhyakshas. That is, every department had adhyakshas. Right? For example, liquor is to be maintained by state alone. The private people cannot make the liquor. So that is basically Suradhyaksha. Right? So like that, basically mining, forest, Kupyadhyaksha. That means that it is basically the state's monopoly. Nobody else can manage the forest. Right? So like that, basically metallurgy, minting of the coins, all this has to be by the state alone. So that means that the different names were there. Just have the broader understanding of name and their list. Right? Again, within that also, all the list you don't need to mug up. If it is something important, you should know. Administration at large, it is okay, because there will be hundreds of adhyakshas or 50s of adhyakshas. I cannot mug up all the things. When you start doing these minute things, again by looking at the PYQ, you know that they will not go that depth. Right? Even if they are doing, you have to try to divide the word and understand. Right? For example, Suradhyaksha, Surapan. What is that Surapana is about? Liquor. So Suradhyaksha is about liquor. Like that, you should try to connect them. So important things you connect them, major things, smaller things you can neglect them. Right? Similarly, this is about your, the central administration. Then provincial administration. Here you have major provinces where Kumaras were looking into it, that is the princes were being assigned. Right? Here 5 major provinces were there. As I told you, in the northwestern part, Taxila is the capital. In the southern part, Suvarnagiri was the capital. In the western, Ujjain was the capital. Right? Similarly, after Ashoka conquered Kalinga, then Dauli or Tosara has become capital in the eastern part, and it's the central, basically Pataliputra was the capital. Like that, they have divided into various provinces, and it was under the district. Within that provinces, there was district administrations. Right? So within that district, again you have Rajuka, Yukta. Right? All these were basically part of the district level administration or sub-district. Finally, you will have village level administration, or a group of villages, basically, not completely a single village, single this thing, that that kind of administration was not started. That was mostly in the Sangam age, you can see it, right? But it is, here it is the group of villages, the Gopas were having 5 to 6 villages, or Sthanikas, who are basically collecting the taxes from that villages that has been assigned. So, important administration. After that, try to understand what was their judicial system, right? So, there was civil judicial, criminal judicial, right? So, civil judicial was called as Dharmastyas, right? Similarly, the criminal justice system was called as Kantaka Shodha, right? So, that kind of terminology, just you should just know that there has to be criminal separately and civil administration separately, their names. That's it. Again, you don't need to go in depth about these issues, right? So, that is the next part. Then basically there was another part which we have talked about, is that is the spy system, right, or espionage system, which is Guda system, right? That you are having the broader understanding. Gudachara means, again, you should be, again within that, basically it can be students were employed because they were going to college, so they will be knowing the information. Other women were employed, traders were employed, all these were employed who are roaming around, they will be using it for this espionage system. So, that is the broader understanding of the judicial system you should be knowing about. So, in this way you should cover them as this. Then with respect to tax administration or financial administration, there are different types of tax, right? For agriculture tax was there. For that we call it as Baga, right? That means that certain part was given. Then agriculture, some land of the agriculture was given or maintained under the kingdom itself, which is called as Sita lands, right? So, that is basically, again the same thing, right? Similarly, Bali, Baga, all these kind of different terminology related to taxation. Always economy becomes very, very important, right? That is how the system has managed. So, economic terminologies with respect to, these things has to be understood. So, that you have to remember. Then you move to Ashoka. Ashoka may, as I told you, pillar inscription. Within that, basically, important pillar inscription, one is basically, Rumindi inscription, right? Where is it? In Nepal, right? Here, right, when Ashoka visited Nepal, that is Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, he has erected that inscription, and he told that taxes will be reduced to a great extent, because in the name of Buddha, because it is Buddha's birthplace, so they have reduced. So, Rumendevi pillar inscription becomes important. As I told you, major edict, minor edict, within that minor edict, Musky become very, very important. And, with respect to, other things, as I told you about rock cave architectures, right, that you have already discussed about, Nagarjuni caves, Barabar caves, within that Lomas Rishi cave, where it has been given to Ajivikas, this becomes important, right? So, similarly, art and architecture becomes important. Within art and architecture, again, if you have seen Nitin Singhania book also, it has been given under two major categories. One is court art. That means that it has been promoted by the administration itself. Another is popular art, that is a folk art that is happening by the people. It was not directly promoted by the government, or it is not promoted by the administration as such, but that in that way you have palaces, right? Here you have Kumbrahar Palace about Chandragupta Maurya, which is basically a wooden palace which has been given by the Megasthenes, that it was this many stories and those many things. Just that Kumbrahar was known for Chandragupta's wooden palace. Only just place name, that is Pataliputra anyways, right? So that is Ashoka's palace is also there. So that way you should be having the broader understanding. Along with that, basically, as I told you, this cave architecture, everything will comes under the government related only, or the administration related only, that you should know. In the popular arts, terracotta and other things are not important, but sculptures there are two things. One, Yaksha and Yakshini. Yaksha and Yakshini. Right, these sculptures become very important. Even the book they have given that photos. If you have seen your introduction to fine art, you have this, where you have Yakshini is famously Didarganj. Right, Didarganj you can see that Yakshini holding something like this in the hand. Right. Similarly, Farkam Fakram in Uttar Pradesh. This is where you have Yaksha sculpture. These two you are supposed to know. That is about your overall art and architecture. Then within that economy, you know about the trade. Within the trade, there are two types of trade. One is internal trade, one is external trade. Internal trade from Taxila to Tamralipti. That Uttarapata was there, that you are supposed to know. And external trade with respect to that, which ports are important. Bharuch, Sopara, right? Like that, important ports has to be known. Tamralipti is also a port in the West Bengal. So these three ports indicates that there was a maritime trade at that point of time. So that also has to be known. So in that way, you are supposed to cover your external trade. Then agriculture, as I told you, different type of land revenues and what are the various things, right? And he has Kautilya also has talked about for further taxation, prayasa, that means that emergency tax. Suddenly it is in the financial condition, you can put the extra tax. So kind of the terminologies, just if you know, that would be more than sufficient. However, in these years, there more question is about Kautilya's Arthashastra. So study Kautilya's important theories, right? So one, as we have already seen, one is basically the question is also asked about Saptanga theory, one part. Okay. Second, study about Mandala theory. What is Mandala theory? This is again in the current affairs also. They are keep talking about this in many of the editorials many times. What is this Mandala theory? Mandala theory is basically about foreign policy, how you should keep your neighbors and so and so. Right? Here what they will tell, if you want to be Vijigishu, Vijigishu means the conqueror. If you want to become the conqueror tomorrow, so you have been surrounded by different kingdom, right? So your immediate neighbors, you see in the present geopolitics also, your immediate neighbors are your enemies, right? Whoever is your immediate neighbor, you will have issue with them, right? So that means that this is called as Ari. Ari means, enemy, right? So your immediate neighbors are your enemies. Neighbor's neighbor, who is not your neighbor, but your neighbor's neighbor, that is, he is enemy to that person. That means that he will become ally to you. He will become friend to you. So that means that he will, enemy's enemy or neighbor of the enemy will become mitra to you, right? So that is basically how you should manage your relationship. You have good relation with neighbor's neighbor so that you can contain them. Like that, basically, then there will be Ari Mitra, that is, friend of the enemies. You have to be always careful with Mitra Mitra. That means that your friend's friend, you can have good relation with them. Then there will be someone called Madhyamika. Madhyamika means just like you, they are also powerful. Now, with whom they tilt, that becomes important in the geopolitics. So that means that he is actually at center. He can go this side also, he can go this side also. How the relationship you will have with him. That becomes irrelevant. Another is finally Udasina. Udasina means he is not interested in the geopolitics. He is neutral. He tells that it is your own war, you fight it. I will not come this side also, this side also. Madhyamika is not, neutral. He can go that side also, he can go this side also, depending upon what is the advantage for him. But Udasina is not going anywhere. So with the Madhyamika, you should always have a different relationship. That is basically the mandala theory. Even when we are discussing the present geopolitics, many a times that will be used with respect to Kautilya. At that time only he has told you, see any countries, right? Now China have problem with, let's say, Japan, because they are the neighboring countries, right? So what they will do, they will have friendship with another country who is neighbor to neighbor. Like that, basically it is mostly about these things, that is geopolitics. Presently also it will be coming. So just have the broader understanding of mandala theory. Because of the geopolitics, that is keep fighting happening, Russia, Ukraine, they are neighbors, they are enemies. Like that basically, right? So you have the broader understanding. US and Canada, they will always have issues. US and Mexico, they will have issues. So like that, your immediate neighbor will always be a threat to you. India, Pakistan, India, China, all are we seen them as mostly not as we try to make them as friend, but naturally they will always be alive because we share the border. We always have the issue with them, right? So in that way, you have to. So mandala theory becomes important. Then, right? Another theory is Shadgunya theory. This is also very important, right? Again, when you understand mandala theory, Shadgunya is basically, Shad means what? 6, right? So 6 characteristics how you are supposed to manage with different partners. That is what the Shadgunya theory is talking about, right? Here they talk about different things, right? Either you, go and fight with them, or you have, wait and watch kind of situation. If they are equally strong, then don't fight with them. Go with Sandhi. Sandhi means what? That is conciliation, right? So similarly, Vigraha. Vigraha means war. If he is weak, you are strong. Then don't go to conciliation. Go and conquer them. If they are equally strong with you, then or they are more stronger than you, then what you have to do? Then you have to go and have a good relation with them. You should go and concile with them. That is basically Sandhi. Like that, Sandhi, Vigraha. Then basically Asana. Asana means wait and watch. Don't do anything. Just keep quiet at this point of time. That is Asana. Similarly, Yana. Yana means keep marching towards them, so that they will be always be in a fearful situation. Or Samashraya. Samashraya means go and seek their help if they are very much stronger than you. You are nowhere comparable to them. Then some fight is coming, go to a big brother and ask the help. That is Samashraya. Like that, basically the different theories has been given, or how it has to be managed, your geopolitical relation, depending upon who is your enemy and how you have to add them or deal with them. So that is Shadgunya theory. That has to be understood at the broader perspective. Then there are 4 upayas that we regularly use, right? That is Sama. What is that? Sama, Beda, Danda, right? So, what is that? Sama, Dama, Beda, Danda. Sama means, what is Sama? Have a good relation. Have a, talk with them. Try to convince them. That is Sama, right? Dama means give them bribe, give them gift. Directly they are not being consoled, so give them something that they like, so that you can do that, right? Or it is Danda. Danda means what? Go and attack them. That is the final stage. Before that, you can do Beda. Beda means if your friend is there, see his friend and create a division within them. So that, then what will happen? He will be start fighting there, that he will become weak. Then you can go and attack. So, that way 4 upayas has been mentioned. How taxation with respect to he has spoken about, slaves he has spoken about, right? All of these things with respect to Kautilya's Arthashastra, major theories has to be studied and understood. Right, in that way, try to go little deeper, because the question is now they are asking on the Kautilya's Arthashastra particularly. So you should go little deeper. This is how you are supposed to cover your Maurya's empire. Not minute terminology mugging it up. That way you cannot, mug it up also, then you start getting confused also. Right, and simply important things has to be understood. Clear about this? Okay.